Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for visiting the YouTube channel for bestbiblecommentaries.com. In this video, I'm going to talk about Bible commentaries that are scheduled to be released in 2022. The reason why I'm showing you a PowerPoint is because the books aren't out yet. Before I get started, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like the video by clicking the thumbs up button, and feel free to leave a comment or ask a question down below. Also, I invite you to visit my website, bestbiblecommentaries.com. When you use that website, that helps support this channel and helps support my efforts in trying to give people good information on biblical studies resources. There are a few commentary series that don't have any volumes scheduled to be released in 2022. It doesn't mean that nothing will come out. It might just mean that nothing's announced yet. The publishing industry is still a little bit upended by everything that's been going on in the world, including people getting sick, including employee issues, and supply chain issues. I have had contacts at different publishing companies share with me some of the challenges they've had the last few years, and they're still ongoing. So I think if there's a positive to take away from the last few years, I think that people have been writing a lot. Scholars have been writing a lot, so I think that there will be a flood of new releases at some point. We just kind of have to play a little bit of catch up. So some notable series on here. The upper left-hand corner is, and these are just example covers, just so I can talk about the series. In the upper left-hand corner is the Pillar New Testament series. There's still some volumes in that series that there's still no release date. The question I get most often is D.A. Carson and what volume he is contributing next in that series. And I even reach out to the publisher, and I can't get a lot of information on that. So, but no new volume scheduled at this point in 2022. The next one to the right, the NICNT series, no new volumes are scheduled at this point. I would expect revisions to continue to come out in that series. There's Old Testament volumes coming out in that series that I'll show you in the PowerPoint. The next one over is the Baker Old Testament Commentary series. I'm showing the Wisdom and Psalms. Last year, John Goldengay came out with the Genesis volume and a volume on some of the minor prophets. I can't remember what books off the top of my head now, but nothing new scheduled in that series yet. But who knows, maybe in the middle of the year or toward the end of the year, there'll be a new volume announced. The Word Biblical Commentary has some volumes that are scheduled to come out. They're just listed as upcoming, but there's no date yet. I'll show you that toward the end of the PowerPoint. I have a couple of slides where I talk about popular series and books that are scheduled, and they even have authors assigned to them. There's just no release date yet, and there are some New Testament volumes in the WBC series that are scheduled to come out soon. The NIVAC series, I'm just mentioning it because it might be the most popular commentary series out there. There's nothing new scheduled, but the series completed last year. I do notice that revisions are started to come out, so I would expect more revisions. There's just nothing on the schedule for 2022 yet. The Baker Exegetical Commentary in the New Testament series also doesn't have anything on the calendar yet. I would expect some revisions and maybe some cover designs too. The cover design I'm showing there on the PowerPoint is the current cover design, so I would expect some of the older volumes that haven't had that new cover design yet for those to come out, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be new commentaries or even revisions. The next one is the Evangelical Exegetical Commentary series. Been very well reviewed. There's just nothing that I could find anywhere that showed any new release dates. So I'll just have to keep an eye on that, but that's a series to pay attention to moving forward. All right, so there's a couple of volumes that I didn't get to discuss on my channel toward the end of the year, so I'm going to show you some new releases from November and December. And then move forward to upcoming volumes. So Hosea in the Reformed Expository Commentary series by Richard Phillips, well-reviewed expositional commentary series. So the book of Hosea is now out. Hermenia, or Judges in the Hermenia series, came out in November as well. It's by Mark S. Smith and Elizabeth, I think it's Block Smith, not quite sure on that, but this is a technical commentary series, and some volumes are more critical, so just be aware of that. Also in November is was the latest release in the For You commentary series. Tim Chester has now written a couple of volumes in this series. Exodus comes to mind, and he might have a couple of others in this series as well. This is the book of Isaiah. This is great for any kind of church setting, small groups, Bible studies. Pastors find this series helpful as well. It's not in-depth exegetically, though, so the point is to give readers a basic explanation of the text along with application suggestions. In December, the First and Second Kings volume came out in the Story of God Bible Commentary series by David Lamb. I do think this series is going to continue, and I think that Zondervan is going to complete the series. It's not always the case with the commentary series, but this series has been well reviewed. Pastors seem to like it, so I anticipate that more and more volumes will come out. Another technical commentary series is the International Critical Commentary series, and in December they released the second volume in their Ecclesiastes commentary, and this one's by Stuart Weeks. Another commentary series that gained a lot of momentum in 2020, and people are pretty excited about it from everything that I have seen on my channels, or just feedback I've gotten on YouTube videos and on my website, is that people are really enjoying the Evangelical Biblical Theology Commentary series. So James Hamilton, who has written other commentaries, not necessarily in this series, but in other commentary series, has written the Psalms volume, and it's actually 2 volumes. And so I expect this one will be well received also. Another one in that series is the Galatians volume by Matthew Harmon. And this one, I don't know a lot about this one. This looks to be a standalone. I couldn't find any information regarding a series, but this by David Ford is the Gospel of John, and it's a theological commentary. So I don't know a lot about it, but you might want to look at the reviews when they come out on different places online. So the volume of Jeremiah that Golden Gay's commentary is replacing is very well reviewed, as I said, and it's actually J.A. Thompson's Jeremiah volume. So Thompson's Jeremiah volume has now been lifted out of the series, but when commentaries are considered classics and they're really well reviewed and honestly they sell well, the publisher will continue to publish them. And so the J.A. Thompson commentary on Jeremiah, even though it's been lifted out of the series, is now being offered as a standalone, or it will be in January 2022. It will be offered as a standalone volume, so people can still get it. But if you want it in the NICOT cover design, which is important to some people, you might want to get a copy sooner rather than later, because it's possible that could go up in price. Also in January 2022, another For You volume. This one is 2 Peter and Jude by Miguel Nunez. Okay, so here is the Golden Gay Lamentations volume. That's a replacement volume in the series. I'm not aware that the previous Lamentations volume in the series is going to be published as a standalone. I have not heard that, didn't come across any of that, but Golden Gay is contributing the replacement volume. So I also put on here what the page links were. A lot of commentary series will combine Jeremiah and Lamentations, but the publisher is not doing that in this case, so I just noted down that the Jeremiah volume by Golden Gay is over 1,000 pages, and the Lamentations volume is about 250 pages. I think it was just under 250 pages. And of course, Lamentations is only 5 chapters, so that explains some of that difference. Also in February 2022, the next volume in the REC series comes out by Daniel Doriani. If I remember correctly, he wrote the Daniel volume in this series. I think he has another one in this series. Pretty sure it's Daniel. But Romans will come out in February 2022. In March of next year, the Philippians volume in the it's a replacement volume in the TNTC series will come out, and the TNTC series, the TOTC series, the Old Testament version, continues to come out with replacement volumes. I think last year they must have come out with 5 to 10 replacement volumes. I mean, quite a bit, and they show no sign sign of slowing down. This is IVP Publishers, by the way. Janine K. Brown, I anticipate this is going to be a very well-reviewed volume. She wrote the Matthew volume in the Teach the Text commentary series. That one comes to mind, but her work has received really good reviews, so I think I would anticipate more of the same for her work moving forward. This one I don't know a lot about. I couldn't even find out if this is going to be a series or not, by Romans by Michael Gorman. The subtitle is A Theological and Pastoral Commentary. Again, not sure if that's a standalone or if that is the name of a new series. Not quite sure. Don't have a lot of information about this one yet. The new Cambridge Bible Commentary series continues in 2022 with a few new releases. 1 Peter by Ruth Ann Reese is scheduled to come out in April, as is a new Ephesians volume by David De Silva. And De Silva has written some well-reviewed commentaries. One that comes to mind is in the New International Commentary on the New Testament series, the NICNT series. I think it was Galatians, if I remember correctly. But he's written some well-reviewed volumes. Ruth Ann Reese, I'm not quite remembering off the top of my head, but this commentary series has been a little bit hit and miss, in my opinion. It has some very well-reviewed volumes, including Craig Keener's and Darrell Bock's. So it'll be interesting to see what these commentaries are like when they come out in April. The Apollos Old Testament Commentary series has one volume scheduled for 2022, and it's Proverbs by Paul Overland, and has some very well-reviewed volumes in this series. Christ-Centered Exposition Commentary series is designed for church ministry. The Job volume by David Allen is scheduled to come out in April. So here's another situation like the John Golden Gaze volume on Jeremiah, that it's replacing a very well-reviewed volume, and the same is true here. So the publisher has decided to replace the Ezra and Nehemiah volume in the NICOT series. Hannah K. Harrington is the author of the 2022 version. I don't know a lot about her, but I look forward to getting to know her work when this comes out in the spring. But it's replacing a volume that the publisher is going to offer as a standalone, and it's this one. F. Charles Fensham wrote the Ezra and Nehemiah volume in the NICOT series, and that's a very, very well-reviewed volume. So instead of discontinuing it altogether, the publisher is going to publish it as a standalone. So it's still going to be available, but again, if you are one of those that really want it in the previous cover design, then you might want to get secure a copy before May 2022, because it's possible that the price could go up. It might not, but it's just a supply and demand issue. There will be less volumes of this commentary with the previous cover design, or the current cover design, moving forward. The next volume in the Mentor Exposition Commentary series comes out in May by Douglas Kelly, and this is a Christian Focus publication. I think 1st and 2nd and 3rd John and Revelation are the volumes out in this series so far. I think I'm remembering that correctly. There's not many volumes, but this is a great series for pastors. So look forward to this one in May. Here's a volume that caught my eye that I was not aware of until just a few days ago, and it's now one of the commentaries I'm most looking forward to in 2022. Through Old Testament Eyes series. Now this is, so the subtitle to the series is a background and application commentary. There's 2 volumes out so far in this series, Mark and then John. Karen Jobes came out with John in 2021, and now this one is scheduled to come out. This volume is scheduled to come out in 2022, and Tremper Logman is the author. So if you follow the world of Bible commentaries, you will recognize him. He is a very, very well-reviewed Old Testament commentary author, so it's pretty fascinating that he's going to write the Revelation volume in this series. Makes sense because it's called Through Old Testament Eyes, and I would have to think that there's going to be some comparisons made to G.K. Beale's Revelation volume in the NIGTC series, because a lot of his expertise lies in the area of the New Testament's use of the Old Testament. So it'll be interesting to compare those volumes when this one comes out, but I'm pretty sure that this one won't be technical, but will be more mid-level. The next volume in the RCS series comes out, 2 Corinthians, and it's edited by Scott M. Manitesh. A Luke volume comes out. I'm a little surprised that they were replacing the Luke volume in the TNTC series, but Nicholas Perrin is the author of the new volume that comes out in May. Another volume in the, I think it's K-Roo commentary series. No one's corrected me on that yet, so I'm going to go with K-Roo till someone corrects me. Jeremiah and Lamentations. So Dwayne Garrett and Calvin Pearson. So usually with this series, one author explains the text and the other author suggests the applications. Another replacement volume in the TNTC series is Colossians and Philemon by Alan J. Thompson, who has written some well-reviewed commentaries. 1st and 2nd Kings in the K-Roo series by David Schreiner and Lee Compson comes out in July. The next volume in the ECOT series comes out, Judges. I believe this volume is going to be by Mark Boda and Mary Conway. The only hesitation I have is looking through the Zondervan academic catalog. It had Judges listed by Daniel Timmer. So I think that author is incorrect. I think that Mark Boda and Mary Conway, I believe, are the correct authors. I anticipate that this is going to be very well-reviewed commentary. Mark Boda came out with his Zechariah commentary in the NICOT series maybe 3 years ago now. Well-reviewed. He just continues to do some amazing work in the area in writing Bible commentaries. And this is just a very well-reviewed series. So it's going to be great to see his work in the format of this particular series. In August, we have Stanley Porter's commentary on the pastoral epistles. The subtitle is a commentary on the Greek text. I don't know if this is a standalone or this is a new series. Another volume in the ZECOT series is the Leviticus volume by J. Sklar, and he also wrote the Leviticus volume in the TOTC series. So I expect the ZECOT volume to be much more depth, just in part because of the layout of the series. All right, so here what I want to show you is some volumes that are coming out in some couple different series I'm going to show you on the next few slides where there's just not a release date yet. So the images, the book covers, I'm just giving as an examples of what the series is. So if you look down below those two covers, you see forthcoming volumes in the New Testament, portion of this series. There's still 6 volumes that are scheduled to be released. But there's no release date yet, so I'm not saying these are coming out in 2022. It could be beyond that, but it looks like these are the authors under contract for these books, and apparently working on them would be my guess. There's some recognizable names if you follow the world of Bible commentaries. George Guthrie is writing the Philippians volume. His most well-known commentary is probably Hebrews in the NIVAC series. It's very well reviewed. G.K. Beale and Christopher Beetham are writing the volume on the pastoral epistles. So G.K. Beale is probably a recognizable name to many of you. Christopher Beetham, I'm not familiar with him. The Hebrews volume is going to be written by Douglas Moo. The 1 Peter volume by Michael Wilkins. The commentary that comes to mind for him is the Matthew volume in the NIVAC series. That's the one that comes to mind. So, and then 2 Peter and Jude by Robert Yarbrough, who has written some excellent commentaries, including one in the Pillar series. So, as far as the right-hand side is the Old Testament volumes, and again, there's just no release dates. Not every book has an author under contract, like Deuteronomy is to be announced. And so you can just look at that list there and see if there's any authors that are familiar to you. I noticed that Brian Webster, who I'm really not that familiar with, is writing 4 volumes in the Psalm series. That's pretty amazing. I imagine that project's going to take a little while. So I recognize some names on there, but I don't know how well known they are. So actually, I see the judges on this list too says Mark Boda and Mary Conway. So I'm pretty sure it's the catalog that was wrong on the previous slide. All right, so next series, the Story of God series, and the cover I'm showing there is just an example, but forthcoming volumes you can see there on the right hand side. So they have plans to continue out to finish this series. Galatians by Nijay Gupta, that he might be a name that's familiar to some of you. James by Miriam Kamel. I'm not sure if I'm saying that last name right, but she co-authored the James volume with Craig Blomberg in the ZECNT series, so that name might be familiar to some of you. And Revelation by Jonathan Moo. I think that's Douglas Moo's son, I believe. But there's no release dates for these. Old Testament volumes forthcoming. Sorry if the image on the right is a little blurry. These are actually screenshots, so it's just the only place I could find these information online with some blurry images. So anyway, so Jay Sklar is writing the Numbers volume in this series too. So he's pretty busy writing, isn't he? Mark Boda, the Isaiah volume in this series. So you can look at the names there, see if any of them are familiar to you. But again, no release dates yet. All right, so here's the Word series. I'm just showing the New Testament volumes on this slide because I don't see any updates to any Old Testament volumes coming out in 2022 or scheduled at all. So a couple of things I note on this chart is looking at the left-hand side. It's amazing how old this series is, and we still don't have Acts volumes. Stephen Walton, if that's too small for you to see, Stephen Walton looks like he's under contract to write the Acts volumes. There's going to be 2 Acts volumes, and it just says coming soon, but no release date yet. So as long as I can remember, that's what I've seen as far as the Acts volumes for this series. If you look below that, the 1 Corinthians author doesn't seem to have an author, so it's to be announced, but it does say coming soon to the next to that, but it says to be announced. And then on the right-hand side, very interestingly, Colossians and Philemon is coming out, and this is actually a replacement, well, I guess you would call it a replacement volume, because the Peter O'Brien volume was discontinued. This is the first Peter O'Brien volume that I am aware of that is being replaced, and I think it's very exciting that Clint Arnold is going to be the author. He has written some really excellent commentaries. He's been one of my favorite authors to read as far as biblical studies is concerned. He writes a lot about spiritual warfare in the book of Ephesians. Those are the volumes that come to mind. But I think it's fantastic that he is writing this volume, and I look forward to when that is coming out. So that's the update for the Word Biblical Commentary series. I don't have more information on that, but it's interesting to me that Clint Arnold's publication, his replacement volume, is coming out. Apparent that the Peter O'Brien volume was only discontinued a few years ago, right? 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. And yet it's coming out before the Acts volumes, perhaps because the Acts volumes are coming out simultaneously. I don't know. It's just interesting to consider how that works. All right, this is the last series I'm going to show you, and I don't have much information about it, but it's a new Zondervan series. The volume on the left, I think, came out last year. It's called the Critical Introductions to the New Testament series. Nijay Gupta wrote the 1st and 2nd Thessalonians volume, so I think that's the only volume that's out right now, but it looks like they're going to complete this series, which covers New Testament books. The idea behind the series is to expand on the introduction sections to commentaries. So if you have a commentary that's, say, 500 pages, maybe the first 50 pages or so are full of introductory matters: authorship, date, original audience, genre, structure, other things like that. Well, books in this series that's all they're going to be about. It's just those introductory matters. So look at the volumes. Maybe it's too small for you to see, but the volumes on the right-hand side, the lower right-hand side, there's some names that are familiar to me, so maybe they are to you. So it looks like some great authors are going to be contributing to this series. Mark Strauss, who's an expert in the Gospels, is going to be writing the Mark volume. Steve Walton's going to write the Acts volume. I wonder if he's doing that after he writes the Acts volumes in the Word series. That's interesting. Timothy Gombis is writing the Romans volume. Brian Rossner, who co-wrote a volume in the Pillar series, he's going to be writing the 1 Corinthians. Actually, I think he co-wrote the volume of 1 Corinthians in the Pillar series. He's going to be contributing the 1 Corinthians volume. Lynn Cohick, who wrote the Ephesians volume, came out last year with the replacement Ephesians volume in the NICNT series. He's going to be writing the volume on the pastoral epistles. Michael Bird, who wrote a book on evangelical systematic theology a couple years ago, he's going to be contributing the 2 Peter and Jude volume. Ian Paul is going to be writing the Revelation volume. He wrote the replacement Revelation volume in the TNTC series, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So, and there's some other authors on there you might be familiar with, but I'm not. But I look forward to getting to know their work. So, I hope this video has been helpful to you, and I will see you next year.